So before I jump into step number one, I need to tell you guys that I've seen so many students who are overwhelmed by the sheer amount of information and conflicting advice thrown at them in all different kinds of directions. If you can relate, say I. And I don't know about you, but when I feel overwhelmed, my mind gets foggy. My thinking becomes confused and unclear, and I tend to procrastinate because I feel stuck. Now, you do this enough times, you'll begin to feel powerless, right, and unsure about whether you're making the right decision or not. Right now, this is a strategy that business owners use to take advantage of you because they want you to be confused. Because if you're confused, then you'll want to pay them to help you get unstuck. Right? So many students fall into this trap. Right? They would rather pay someone else or have their parents pay someone else to solve their problems for them rather than work with someone to solve their problems together. Right? But this is a super risky strategy, and it ends up in disaster almost always because you're always going to be in a state of uncertainty. You won't truly know that you're doing the right things. And the moment that something goes wrong, the doubt and the worry will show, and you'll end up losing trust in yourself, also others. So guys, just do me a favor and pause for a moment. Close your eyes if you need to. Now take a deep breath. I want you to think about a time when you felt overwhelmed. Is it when you had 5 different exams that you had to take in a week? Was it a 20-page paper? And also you were getting pressure from your parents to do your chores? Maybe your boyfriend or your girlfriend, right, was nagging at you, right, kind of giving you an ultimatum, telling you that they were going to break up with you if you didn't give them more attention. Right? Just try to imagine a time when you felt extremely overwhelmed. Put yourself back in that moment for a quick second. How much space did you have in your head and body? Not much, right? I can feel myself kind of getting into that stage too. We'll shake ourselves out of it, we've all been there. And there's no judgment from me. I've been there so many times. And we all know that it's not a good place to be. Right now, guys, the best way that I know how to deal with overwhelm that has worked tremendously well for me, and I know will work well for you, is to focus on the next smallest step that you can take. Now, what that looks like specifically on your test prep journey is to gather foundational knowledge about the SAT and the ACT. Right, so foundational knowledge, you guys, is simply basic information about the 2 tests. Could be the format and the structure of the tests, the content and its topics, the timing, right, and so on and so forth. Now, you don't have to know everything about these 2 tests. At this point, there's just 3 foundational pieces of knowledge you'll want to gather. Right, so 1, we have the differences in the subject content between the 2 tests. 2, the format and structure of the SAT and ACT. And 3, the timing that's allotted, right, on these 2 tests. Now, we don't have the time to go over each of these points in depth in this video, but if you're interested in learning about the SAT and ACT in detail, you can simply watch my video that's located somewhere in my channel. You'll see the title. It'll say something like the SAT versus the ACT. Now, in that video, I'll cover everything you need to know about the 2 tests. We're talking format, structure, content, timing, the similarities, the differences, and I'll even share my thoughts from my experiences and my opinions about which types of students are better suited for which test. Okay, so gathering foundational knowledge about the test is important. So now that you understand the foundational knowledge piece about the test, it's also important to get some foundational knowledge about yourself as the test taker. So we have foundational knowledge about the exam, the test itself, and you, right, the test taker. So it requires some external awareness as well as some internal awareness. Right now, understanding your learning style, your strengths, and areas where you might need a little bit more support is extremely critical. Right, so here's a few prompts and questions that you can ask yourself to help you to become a little bit more self-aware, right, if you're not self-aware already.